It's 9 o'clock on a Saturday. I normally upload on Saturdays, and I'm deciding just now to film because I spent most of the day reorganizing this room. I moved some shelves around because I got some more books and they needed to have a place to go. So because I have nothing planned, I'm gonna do a book tag. This is going to be the 20 questions book tag. Before I get started, I have to go do something really fast. It's really bothering me. Also, since I'm sitting on the floor, I need a pillow because my old bones can't handle it. This is the 20 questions book tag. Like, sorry about my hair. Like I said, it's like 9 o'clock on a Saturday and I spent most of the day organizing. 20 questions book tag that I found on Paper Fury. So question number 1 is, how many books are too many for a series? I've read some pretty long book series, i.e. Harry Potter, The Mortal Instruments. Those are long, maybe too long. I like duologies a lot, but I think like I stand for a trilogy. I really love a trilogy or like a quartet because I do love the Raven Cycle. Oh, but like one thing that really made me like, something that triggered in my mind with this particular question. I was a subscriber to Kindle Unlimited when I first got my Kindle, like my very first one, and I fell into this series called Shade of Vampires or A Shade of Vampires or something of this nature, and I had to stop reading it because there were like 25 books in the series and it was too much for me. It was like the author kept coming up with new characters to keep the storyline going. And at about book 15, I think I'd had quite enough. Question 2, how do you feel about cliffhangers? If you know anything about me, you know that I will tend to not read books that are in a series that are currently being released as they're being released because I cannot wait to move on from the cliffhanger ending. So for example, when I read Clockwork Prince, I like immediately had to start Clockwork Princess. I did not even like wait until the next day to start. I immediately picked up Clockwork Princess when Clockwork Prince was over. So yeah, I don't like them. If the Harry Potter series were still being released right now, like Harry Potter, not the spin-off bullshit. If Harry Potter were being released right now and it was my first time reading it, I don't know if I could ever go back to doing that again. I like to wait until the full series is out now before I read it. And yeah, that puts me behind, i.e. the Raven Cycle, but I don't care. I prefer to just binge read a series so that I don't have to deal with cliffhangers. 3 is hardcover or paperback. I am not a snob when it comes to books. Whatever I can get for the cheapest is what I'm going to take. So if that's a hardcover that I found for $1, like the second book in the Twilight series, New Moon, or 15 hardcovers for $5, or 37 paperbacks for $2.50. Whatever's cheapest, that's what I'm gonna go for, unless it's something like my favorite author. So for example, I have all of Cassie Clare's books in paperback that have been released in paperback, but I'm also working toward owning all of her books in hardcover. So both, but like if it's a favorite author, I prefer a hardcover. Oh, why do tags do this to you? Why do people want to know what your favorite book is? This is so hard for, it's so hard for me. It's so hard for me. Okay, so like I can't answer this. Oh my God. Okay, in terms of thrillers, this is how I have to do it. It's by genre or by series. In terms of thrillers, I think my favorite thriller so far has been The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. In terms of books in a series, I really loved Lord of Shadows. I thought that was an excellent Shadowhunter book. Recently read The Raven Cycle for the first time and I loved The Raven Boys. Why am I looking over there? Water for Elephants has maintained its spot as one of my favorites. Middle grade, my favorite book from middle grade is Ghost by Jason Reynolds. Another like really recent read that I loved was They Both Die at the End and More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera. It's hard for me to say what my favorite books are because it changes as I progress through my reading. Least favorite book is question number 5. And my answer to that is I have a video strictly dedicated to my least favorite books. It's called Books That Are the Bane of My Existence or something of that nature. It'll be linked below. You can check that out. I'm not going to answer that question. Number 6, love triangles. Yes or no? You know what? Yes. A lot of people like Cassie Clare love triangles, but I think the most interesting love triangle that I've read was by Mary E. Pearson in The Remnant Chronicles. It wasn't a true love triangle, but it was an interesting one. Number 7 is the most recent book you couldn't finish. For this one, I'm going to go with an audiobook that I started listening to and I couldn't get into it because I think that the narrator just bothered me, and that was Nosferatu by Joe Hill. I have the physical copy of the book. Something about the narrator's voice was grating on my nerves while I tried to listen to it, so I had to stop, and I'll pick that book up again eventually. But before that, it was, oh, what's that one book by Kurt Vonnegut? So It Goes. Can't remember. It was a Kurt Vonnegut book. Next question, a book you're currently reading. Right now, I'm only reading one, which is a surprise because normally I have about 3 going at once. The only book that I'm reading right now is Missing Presumed by Susie Steiner. I'm reading that on my Kindle. I borrowed it from the library because one of the books on my TBR this month is part of a series and I didn't know when I picked it. What's the last book you recommended to somebody? I recommended that one of my friends read Water for Elephants. Before that, I recommended that one of my friends read the Shadow Game series by Amanda Foody, specifically Ace of Shades, since that's the first book. He's gonna let me know if he wants to borrow that. Oldest book you've read by publication date. I don't know, cause like I have a lot of classics in my collection, so I don't know the answer to this question. It's too hard for me to, sorry about my cat. It's too hard for me to try to figure that out. I can't. Newest book you've read by publication date. Probably, it was King of Fools by Amanda Foody. I don't know why I looked over there. I couldn't remember if, holy shit, why can't I remember what that book is called? I can't remember if the Red Scrolls of Magic came out before King of Fools, but then I realized that it did. So King of Fools is the most like recent book that I've read by publication date. Favorite author. Adam Silvera has recently crept into the ranks of my favorite authors. Riley Sager, Lisa Jewell, Cassie Clare, and Maggie Stiefvater are my favorite authors. I'm hopefully gonna add some more because I bought some more books from authors that I have in my collection, so hopefully I'll get to add some more. Also, probably like Joe Hill. I really like his writing too. Buying books or borrowing books is question 13. So I definitely buy more books than I borrow. I think that it hasn't gotten to be a problem quite yet because I still have shelf room. I do borrow books from the library. I borrow my audiobooks and I borrow ebooks from the library. Probably when I work in a library, I will borrow more books than I buy. But right now, I like to support my local libraries by purchasing books at their used book sales, as you all know. Most of the books that I buy are used. I don't really buy a whole lot of brand new books. A book you dislike that everyone seems to love is number 14. Let me just look around and see if I can find anything. I mean, honestly, I'm not that hard of a person to please when it comes to reading. A lot of people on my Instagram seem to like Wuthering Heights and I don't like that book, so we'll go with that. Bookmark or dog ears? Question 15. Bookmarks. Don't you dare dog ear my books or I'll come for you. A book you can always reread. I'm definitely going to say that I could reread The Raven Cycle. I can reread Harry Potter. I can reread anything that Cassie Clare has written. I could probably reread anything that Becky Albertalli or Adam Silvera have written. So far, that's it. That's all I can think of. Can you listen to music while you read? And the answer to that is no. I can't listen to anything while I read. I need silence, like not even chewing noises. It's hard for me to concentrate on the book. Sometimes I can sit on my sofa while my husband plays a game or watches TV and read, but most of the time, no, I need silence. 18. One POV or multiple? I like one because sometimes I don't care what other people are thinking. I only care about the main character. But at the same time, I like multiple because I like to see what's going on in everybody else's minds. So I guess it just depends on how interesting I think the character is as to whether or not I want to hear multiple POVs. 19, do you read a book in one sitting or over multiple days? It's hard for me now to read a book in one sitting because I have 2 kids, I work a full-time job, I'm married, and I go to school full-time. But back in the day, I could read books in one sitting all the time. I think I read the last Harry Potter book in like basically 24 hours. I've read a couple of books recently in one sitting. The Last Time I Lied was one of them. Then She Was Gone was another. But most of the time, no, I don't read books in one sitting. I don't have time to. And the last question is, who do you tag? And my response to that is anybody who wants to do this. I don't know who's out there watching, you know, who really wants to do this. So if you haven't done it and you feel so inclined, please do and let me know so that I can watch. Otherwise, you know, that's it for me. I'm gonna go and try to figure out why my throat feels so dry, and I've coughed throughout this video. All of my links and what have you to find me other places on the internet are in the description below. And you can leave me a comment letting me know what you're reading this weekend, even though the weekend's practically over. Whatever, let me know what you're reading. And like, follow me on Twitter and Instagram and shit. I don't post there very often, but I like to lurk. Otherwise, see you next week. Goodbye.